Looking back, walking into that hotel lobby was the most dangerous career move I ever made. Not because of the investors, not because of the startup I was betting everything on, but because of her, Victoria Ashford, my former boss, the woman who'd been strictly, impossibly off limits for 2 years while I worked under her, the woman I'd left behind 3 months ago, convinced that distance and time would cure whatever the hell this feeling was. You probably think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. Because when she turned around at that concierge desk, exhausted, frustrated, still somehow the most striking woman I'd ever seen, and said those 5 words, "My room has issues. Do you mind?" I knew I was already lost. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I should have said no, should have pointed her to the hotel across town, wished her luck, and walked away. That's what a smart person would do. But here's the thing about falling for someone you can't have. You don't get to choose when it stops. You don't get to decide that 3 months and 3,000 miles is enough distance to kill something that's been burning for 2 years. So, when she asked if I minded sharing my hotel room with my former boss at midnight in Chicago, I said yes. And everything that happened after the kiss, the confession, the career-threatening scandal, it all started with that one word. Let me back up. 3 months before that hotel lobby, I'd walked out of Victoria Ashford's office for the last time, handed in my security badge, deleted her contact from my phone twice, because the first time I restored it from the trash at 2 a.m. after too much whiskey. I told myself I was leaving for my career. For the startup opportunity, I was lying. I was leaving because I couldn't spend one more late night in that office, sitting across from her, pretending I was thinking about quarterly projections when I was really thinking about the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating, the way she laughed at my terrible jokes, the way she said my name in meetings like it mattered. For 3 months, I threw myself into the startup, worked 16-hour days, went on dates with perfectly nice women who weren't her, convinced myself I was over it. And then I walked into a hotel lobby in Chicago for a tech conference, and there she was. Victoria Ashford stood at the concierge desk with one hand pressed to her temple, the other gripping her suitcase so tight her knuckles were white. Even from 30 feet away, I could read every line of tension in her body. The lobby was all marble and glass, soft jazz playing from hidden speakers. The air smelled like expensive candles and cologne. And cutting through it all, I heard her voice. "Don't care what your system says. I booked a suite 2 months ago. I've been traveling for 14 hours. So, unless you can magically conjure a room that hasn't been flooded, Miss Ashford?" She turned. For a split second, genuine surprise flickered across her face. Then the professional mask slid back into place. "Daniel. Just my name. No inflection. No emotion." "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Conference. Tech startup pitch competition. Board meeting tomorrow morning." She glanced back at the desk clerk, who looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. "Though at this rate, I'll be sleeping in the lobby." The clerk cleared his throat. "As I was explaining, ma'am, we had a pipe burst on the 7th floor this afternoon. Your suite sustained significant water damage. We can offer you a standard room, or we can arrange accommodations at our sister property across town, which would take another 45 minutes, and I have to be in a meeting in 8 hours. Victoria's voice was controlled, but I could hear the exhaustion underneath. "So, unless you have another option, what floor are you on?" she asked, turning to look at me directly. I blinked. 10th. "And your room is intact?" "As far as I know." Something shifted in her expression. A calculation. A decision being made in real time. "This is going to sound incredibly inappropriate," she said quietly. "The lobby noise faded until it was just us. My room has issues. Do you mind?" I should have minded. Should have thought about optics and professionalism and all the reasons this was a spectacularly bad idea. Instead, I heard myself say, "No, I don't mind." The clerk's eyes went wide. Victoria's shoulders dropped half an inch, the first sign of relief I'd seen. We rode the elevator in silence. She stood on the opposite side, her suitcase positioned between us like a barrier. The elevator hummed. The mirror wall reflected us back in triplicate. "Leo, T, Ba, I can still go to the other hotel?" Victoria said suddenly. "This is I shouldn't have asked. At midnight? After 14 hours of travel?" I looked at her. "I have a couch. It's fine." The elevator chimed. 10th floor. My room was standard king bed, white duvet, bland prints. Evidence of my presence everywhere. Laptop on the desk, shirt draped over the chair, room service tray from dinner. Victoria wheeled her suitcase inside. One bed. Couch pulls out. I lied. You don't have to do this. I know. She studied me. Thank you. I cleared space in the closet. She moved to the window, stood there looking out at the city lights, her reflection ghostly in the dark glass. You never responded to my emails, she said quietly. The words hit like a punch. No, I said. I didn't. Why not? Because I was a coward. Because every time I saw her name in my inbox, I felt like I was drowning. Seemed easier, I said. Easier for who? I didn't answer. Victoria disappeared into the bathroom. 20 minutes later, she emerged in yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt, hair damp and loose. I'd never seen her in anything but business attire. Better? I managed. Much. She sat on the opposite end of the bed, leaving careful distance. Why did you leave? You know why. Do I? Victoria. Because from where I was sitting, we were working on Henderson. You were brilliant. We stayed late going over slides. You made that joke about my music taste. I laughed. And the next week, you gave notice. It wasn't about the work. Then what? Everything. It was about the way she listened in meetings. Late nights, working side by side. The comfortable silence that felt more intimate than conversation. It was the right move for my career, I said. Bullshit. I'd never heard her swear before. You were up for senior director. So don't give me career advancement when you left for a startup that might not exist in 6 months. Maybe I needed the risk. Or maybe you were running from someone. Her eyes locked on mine. Tell me I'm wrong. I couldn't. You're not wrong, I said finally. Her breath caught. Why didn't you say something? She whispered. Because you were my boss. Because it was inappropriate. Because I was terrified. Of what? Of you saying yes out of pity. Of ruining the best professional relationship I'd ever had. Of you breaking my heart. And now? Now I'm not your employee anymore? No, you're not. Neither of us moved. The air felt heavy. Her phone buzzed. She flinched, grabbed it. She vanished into the bathroom, voice professional through the door. I lay back and pressed my hands to my eyes. Close. Too close. I dozed off. When I woke at 12:47 a.m., Victoria was at the desk, laptop open, fingers flying. You're still awake, I said. Tokyo's panicking. I need to send analysis before end of day. That's 7 hours. And I'll spend 4 reviewing materials? I've functioned on less. You know your problem? You think you have to do everything yourself. Partially accurate. Completely accurate. I watched you for 2 years. I stood, crossed to the mini fridge. This is the part where I make you terrible hotel vodka and tell you Tokyo can wait. She was quiet. Then, I don't know how to not work. The admission was so naked it stopped me cold. What are you running from? I asked softly. Hell of a question from you. I made the drinks vodka, tonic, no ice. Handed her one. She sipped. This is terrible. I warned you. She smiled. Then it faded. You want the truth? I'm running from the feeling that if I stop, I'll realize I'm not good enough. That it was all luck. That's absurd. Is it? You left. My best analyst. What does that say? Victoria. I moved closer. Crouched so we were eye level. I didn't leave because of your leadership. I left because I was falling in love with you and I didn't know how to be professional about it anymore. Her eyes widened. What? I'd stay late to work with you. Volunteered for projects you led, learned your coffee order, and one day I realized I wasn't just admiring you, I was thinking about you at home, wondering what you did on weekends, wanting to know who you were outside work. She stared. You never said anything. I couldn't. You were my boss. And you were. You. I'm just a person who works too much and had no idea you felt that way. What would you have done? She was quiet. Then, I thought about it. You thought about it. I knew you stayed late. Took projects you could have delegated. I told myself it was professional development. But sometimes, working late, when you'd make some joke, I'd think, what if? What if what? What if you weren't my employee? What if we'd met somewhere else? What if I let myself want this? The air was electric. I was still crouched in front of her, close enough to see gold flecks in her eyes. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Probably. People talk. They do. And I'm older. 5 years. I'm not concerned." Her breath hitched. "You looked me up?" "About 100 times. Late at night. After a drink." I held her gaze. "Embarrassed?" "No." I did the same. We stared. The moment stretched. Her hand moved, curled against the armrest. I leaned in. She leaned in. Our faces inches apart. Someone in the hallway laughed loudly, drunk conference goers stumbling past. We both pulled back. Victoria stood abruptly. I need to finish that email." "Right." She moved to the desk, stared without typing. Her hands shook. I retreated to the bed, stared at the ceiling. The clock ticked past 1 a.m. "I can hear you thinking," Victoria said quietly. "What are you thinking?" "You. Always you. Whether you're working or avoiding me." She laughed. "Both." "Victoria, don't. If you say something kind right now, if you push even a little, I won't have the strength to say no." "Then don't say no." "Daniel, I'm not your employee. We're two adults in a hotel room at 1:30 in the morning. Nobody has power over anybody. Except common sense. Since when has common sense led to anything interesting?" She shook her head, smiling. "You're impossible." The laptop screen had gone dark. Victoria stood, crossed to the bed, sat on the edge. "If we do this," she said slowly, "it gets complicated. Everything worthwhile is complicated. We'd have to tell people. Your investors might have contracts with my board, or we keep it private until it's not. And if it doesn't work out, what if it does?" We sat in silence, the space between us thrumming. "What do you want?" I asked. She met my eyes. "I want to know what it's like to kiss you." My breath caught. "I've thought about it. More than I should have. Late nights when you'd explain some analysis and talk with your hands, board meetings when you'd command the room, team drinks when you'd laugh, and I'd think, what would it take to make you laugh like that with me? I've imagined it 100 different ways." "Victoria, but I also don't want to ruin this. What if the fantasy is better than the reality? What if it's not?" She turned to face me fully. "Okay, one kiss. Then we sleep. And in the morning, we see how we feel." I leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't move, just watched me. Our lips met, soft and tentative, tasting like cheap vodka and possibility. Her hand rested against my chest, not pushing away. Just there, feeling my heartbeat. She made a small sound in the back of her throat, vulnerable and surprised. When we pulled apart, she was breathing hard. "Well?" I whispered. "Better than the fantasy." Yeah. She bit her lip. "We should stop." "Probably." But neither of us moved. Her hand was still on my chest. Mine had found her waist. We were both breathing too fast. "One more," she breathed. This time when we kissed, it wasn't tentative. Her fingers tangled in my hair. I pulled her closer, and all rational thought evaporated. This was wrong. So wrong. We were in a hotel room at 1 in the morning, and tomorrow, she'd have to face her board, and I'd have to pitch to investors. But I couldn't move, couldn't pull away, couldn't do anything except kiss her like I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment. We broke apart, gasping. "We should really stop," she said. But she was already leaning back in. The third kiss turned into a fourth. The fourth turned into her shifting onto my lap, my hands sliding up her back, her weight settled against me. And I could feel every point of contact, her thighs bracketing mine, her chest pressed to mine. "This is insane," she whispered, but her fingers were tracing the collar of my shirt, slipping just under the fabric. "We barely know each other outside of work. I know you take your coffee with 2 sugars and a little cream. I know you tap your pen 3 times before making a decision. I know you hate elevator small talk and you always take the stairs. I know you bite your lower lip when you're thinking. I know." She kissed me again, cutting me off. This time it was slower, deeper, like she was trying to memorize the taste of me. When we finally came up for air, her shirt was half untucked and my hair was destroyed and we were both breathing hard. "This was supposed to be one kiss," Victoria said, smiling. "You have terrible follow-through." She laughed, really laughed. Then her expression turned serious. "Daniel, this isn't just tonight for me. I don't do casual, Good. Neither do I. I mean it. If we actually do this, I need to know you're in. I took her face in my hands. Victoria Ashford, I've been in since the day you explained game theory using sports metaphors you clearly didn't understand. She kissed me again, softer. I really do have a board meeting in 6 hours. Then we should sleep. Neither of us moved. Finally, reluctantly, she climbed off my lap and retreated to her side of the bed. We lay there in the dark, not touching but hyper-aware of each other. Daniel? Yeah? I'm glad my room got flooded. I smiled. Me too. Victoria's alarm went off at 6 a.m. She silenced it quickly. I'd been awake for 20 minutes, watching sunrise patterns on the ceiling. She sat up, hair messy, eyes half closed. Then she registered where she was, who she was with. Hi, she said. Awkward silence. In harsh morning light, last night felt surreal. Victoria disappeared into the bathroom. 30 minutes later, she emerged in her armor dark suit, hair pulled back, makeup precise. Victoria Ashford, VP of Strategy. Coffee? I offered. God, yes. I made it the way I remembered: 2 sugars, a little cream. She blinked in surprise. You remembered. I remember a lot of things. She sipped, watching me. We should talk about this. Probably. But I have 17 minutes before I need to leave. Tonight? Tonight. There's a coffee shop on the corner, Temperance and Vine. Meet me at 4? It's a date. It's a post-mortem. She smiled, grabbed her bag. At the door. Daniel? Good. Neither do I. At 3:47 p.m., I walked into Temperance and Vine. Victoria was already there, tucked into a corner booth. She looked up, and I watched genuine happiness flicker across her face before the professional mask returned. You came, she said. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought. I don't know. She gestured to the seat. I ordered you an Americano. Black, no sugar. I sat. You remember my coffee order. I remember a lot of things too. We looked at each other, and the weight of everything unsaid pressed down. So, Victoria said, last night, do you still feel the same way in daylight? Yes. Do you? Yes. Which creates a problem. How so? Because I live in New York. You live in Seattle. Because we move in overlapping professional circles. Because I'm 45 and you're 33 and people will think you're with me for career advancement. I don't care what people think. You should. Perception matters. Your startup can't afford a scandal. Victoria, we're 2 single adults. A relationship. With a 12-year age gap and a former boss-employee dynamic. She met my eyes. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying people will talk. Let them. Easy to say now. Harder when you're getting side-eye at every event. When investors ask questions. When someone implies you only got promoted because you were sleeping with me. That didn't happen. But it could sound like it did. Optics matter. I sat back. So what are you saying? We pretend last night didn't happen? No. I'm saying we need to be smart. She pulled out her phone. I'm in New York for 2 weeks, then Singapore. You're here through Friday? Then Seattle? Yeah. So we have what? 2 days? Not exactly a foundation. It's a start. She looked at me for a long moment. What do you want from this, Daniel? Honestly, I want to date you. Take you to dinner, text you goodnight, introduce you to my friends. I want to figure out what you're like when you're not working. I want to see if this is as real as it felt last night. And if it is, then we figure out the rest. You make it sound so simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Everything I touch gets complicated. There was something broken in the way she said it. I reached across the table and took her hand. Then let me be the simple thing, I said quietly. For once, let someone else carry the weight. Her eyes glistened. I don't know how to do that. Then we'll figure it out together. We sat like that, hands linked, while the coffee shop bustled around us. Eventually, Victoria squeezed my hand. Okay, she said. Okay, let's try. But slowly. And privately, at least at first. Deal. She smiled. You're very agreeable for someone who's supposed to be a hard-nosed entrepreneur. Only with you. When we finally left, Victoria glanced around, checking for familiar faces. Then, quickly, she squeezed my hand. Tonight? My room's fixed, but we could order dinner, talk more. I'd like that. 8 p.m., room 712. That night, I knocked on 712 at exactly 8 p.m., holding wine from the gift shop. Victoria answered, wearing jeans and a soft sweater. Her hair was down. She was wearing glasses I'd never seen before. "Hi," she said. "Hi. Nice glasses." She touched them self-consciously. "I usually wear contacts. Come in." She'd already ordered room service burgers, fries, pasta, salad, enough food for 4 people. "I didn't know what you'd want," she said. "This is perfect." We ate sitting on the floor, plates balanced on our knees, talking about everything. She told me about growing up in Connecticut, the pressure of being the only woman in most rooms, the way she'd built walls so high she forgot what it felt like to let someone in. I told her about my startup, the fear of failing, the guilt about leaving her department. "I was so angry when you gave notice," she admitted. "I didn't show it. But I went home and drank half a bottle of wine and yelled at my empty apartment. About me leaving? About not being brave enough to ask you to stay." The admission hung between us. What stopped you? Fear. Professionalism. The knowledge that if I said something and you didn't feel the same, I'd lose my best analyst. She set down her plate. Mostly fear. I was terrified too. Of what? That you'd say yes out of politeness. That I'd misread everything. That you'd break my heart. It wasn't pity. It was never pity. I know that now. We cleaned up and migrated to the bed, sitting on opposite sides at first. But gradually, inevitably, we drifted closer. Her shoulder against mine. My hand finding hers. "What happens when we leave Chicago?" Victoria asked quietly. "We figure it out. Video calls. Flights. It's not the same." "No. But it's not impossible." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I don't want to lose this." "You won't. You don't know that." "No. But I know I want to try. That has to count for something." She turned to look at me. "It counts for everything." This time, when we kissed, it was different. Not desperate urgency, but something slower, deeper, more certain. We broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. "I should go," I said, not moving. "You should stay," she countered. "Victoria, I know it's fast. But I'm 45, and I've wasted enough time being careful and afraid." She met my eyes. "Stay, please." So I did. We spent the next day together, calling in sick, ordering breakfast in bed, talking for hours. "Leaving was the right call," she said. "It let you build something that's yours." At some point, her phone buzzed. She frowned, set it back down. "Problem?" I asked. "Message from someone on my board. Derek Chen." I stiffened. "Derek Chen, major investor in Seattle tech, including mine. What did he say?" She showed me. Asterisk. "Interesting development at the conference. Didn't realize you and young Cross were so close. Let's discuss when you're back. Also, copying this to your assistant to schedule." Asterisk. My stomach dropped. "Fuck. Someone saw us," Victoria said quietly. "This is exactly what I was worried about," she said. "Derek will call. He'll ask pointed questions. He'll talk to other board members. They'll talk to your investors. Everyone will be speculating about whether this started while you still worked for me, whether I gave you insider information, whether you got promotions you didn't deserve." She stood up, started pacing. "Your startup is in Series A funding. If investors think you're compromised, they could pull out. Your company could fold. And my board, they're looking for reasons to replace me. One whiff of impropriety, and they'll have the excuse they need." She wrapped her arms around herself. "We could both lose everything. And for what? For a relationship that might not even survive the distance?" The words hit like a slap. "Is that what you think this is?" I asked. "Some casual thing that's not worth the risk?" "I don't know what this is. We've had 36 hours. How can I risk my entire career on 36 hours? "Then don't." The words came out harder than I meant. "Don't risk anything. Go back to New York. Tell Derek it was a misunderstanding. I'll do the same. We'll pretend this never happened." She flinched. "Daniel. No, I mean it. If you want out, if this is too much, I understand. But I need you to be honest. Are you actually worried about Derek? Or are you looking for an excuse to run?" The silence was deafening. "Both," she said finally. "I'm worried about Derek, and I'm terrified of this, and I don't know how to separate the two." "Okay. So what do you want to do?" She sat down next to me, not touching, but close. I don't know. Do you regret last night? No. God, no. She turned to look at me. That's the problem. I don't regret any of it. I'm tired of being smart and strategic. I'm tired of making every decision based on what's best for my career instead of what I actually want. I took her hand. So, what do you want? I want you. I want this. I want to figure out how to make it work even though it's scary and might blow up in our faces. Then let's do that. But I'm terrified. I know. I'm terrified too. But I'm not giving you up because some investor might have opinions. I spent 2 years watching you and wishing I had the courage to say something. I spent 3 months trying to forget you. It didn't work. And now I get to actually be with you? I'm not walking away. Not for Derek Chen. Not for gossip. Not for anything. She studied me. You really mean that? Every word. Something in her expression cracked. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. She laughed despite herself. This is going to get so messy. Derek will call. People will talk. Some will be cruel. Your investors might pull out. My board might ask me to step down. We could both lose everything. Or we could win. We could have something amazing. But we won't know unless we try. She was quiet. Then, what do we do about Derek? We tell him the truth. That we had feelings while we worked together but never acted on them. That this started after I left. That it's new but it's real. And if he doesn't believe us, then we deal with that when it happens. Together. She pulled back to look at me. Together. Together. We sat there on the edge of the hotel bed, hands linked, facing the storm. And for the first time since her phone buzzed, I saw determination in her eyes. Walking out of that hotel room the next morning felt like stepping off a cliff. We said goodbye in the lobby, professional, careful, aware that someone might be watching. A handshake. A polite. Safe travels. Nothing that would raise eyebrows. But when I landed in Seattle 4 hours later, exhausted and second-guessing everything, her text was waiting. Asterisk, I miss you already. Call me when you can. V asterisk. That was all I needed. The next week was a blur of late-night calls, time zone math, stolen moments between meetings. Her board meeting went fine. Derek didn't bring it up. Not yet. My pitch went well. We were still standing. But we both knew the real test was coming. 3 months after Chicago, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Brooklyn, halfway between her apartment and my hotel, watching her walk toward me through late autumn cold. Victoria Ashford, in a wool coat and burgundy scarf, smiling like she knows a secret. We've gotten good at this. The coordination, the video calls at odd hours. She flies to Seattle once a month. I come to New York when I can. We told our teams and investors. It went about as well as expected, not great at first. Derek Chen made pointed comments for 2 weeks before moving on. A few investors asked uncomfortable questions. Another implied I was using her for connections. We weathered it. The gossip faded. My Series A closed not because of Victoria's connections, but because our product was solid. Her board renewed her contract with a raise. People moved on. We're just together now, figuring it out as we go. Hi, she says, sliding into the seat, cheeks flushed from cold. Hi yourself. She orders a latte, and we talk about her week, my week, the mundane things couples discuss. She tells me about a difficult board meeting. I tell her about a code bug that took 3 days to fix. It's ordinary. Beautifully, perfectly ordinary. Later, we'll go back to her loft and order Thai food. Tomorrow, I'll fly home. In 2 weeks, she'll visit Seattle. It's not perfect. Long distance is hard, the loneliness, the video chats, the constant schedule negotiation. We fight sometimes. She works too much. I forget to text back. We're both learning how to let someone in, but it's real. More real than anything I've ever had. And as I watch her laugh at some story I'm telling, I think about that hotel lobby 3 months ago. The question she asked. Asterisk. My room has issues. Do you mind? Asterisk. I didn't mind. I don't mind. I never will. They say you can't choose who you love, that it finds you in unexpected places, at inconvenient times, with impossible people, that the best relationships are the ones you never saw coming, the ones that don't make sense on paper. I never expected to fall for my boss. Never planned to kiss her in a hotel room, fueled by cheap vodka and 2 years of unspoken want. Never imagined we'd be here building something fragile and strange and worth fighting for. But love doesn't wait for convenient timing. It doesn't care about professional boundaries or age gaps or what investors think. It just is. And you either have the courage to reach for it, or you spend the rest of your life wondering what if. I chose courage. We both did, and I wouldn't change a single thing.